Congratulate Carol Overson on being Shortridge High School Hall of Fame this week or last week. That's a very great honor, and she joins luminaries like Richard Luger and Judy O'Bannon.
And Greg Silver.
All right. So when I heard we were doing Peace in the Street, I thought, as my dad was president of Board of Safety for 3 mayors and was police commissioner, I thought maybe I'd do a poem that he would have wanted me to read today. And it's called Peace in the Streets. Not inflammatory language to others, not drug dependency, not lack of safety, not guns in pockets, not hate, not mental illness, not unemployment, not disrespect for law enforcement, not bullying, not insults, not lack of self-control, not racism or xenophobia, but through common decency to others, and through law applied with equality, and with great teachers and parents, and with opportunity to advance in life, with the golden rule of respect observed, with a city caring for all who are on the streets, with leadership of all citizens, peace in the streets makes a community. What it will become and what it is. What will you do to make it so?
Thank you.
That's it. We'll try to put this in the bulletin.
All right. Thanks, Greg, for that. That's terrific. I will make some announcements for what we have upcoming with the club. Thanks to all of our members for making an impact in the community, especially those with anniversaries this month. Roger Cummings, 24 years today.
That's my age.
Pretty good. You're only 32. Like, I didn't know they got you in here that young. Foundation President Mary Bolk at 33 years. Even harder for her if she's 32. I don't. So. 1998 President and Football Committee member Rob Schlegel, 43 years. Perry Meridian Key Club Advisor Lou Drexler, 32 years. Jackie Clancy, 28 years. And 2015 President and Foundation Board member Karen Burns, 26 years. Congratulations, everybody. No, not yet, not yet. I'd like to officially announce your club officers beginning October 1st, 2025. I will continue as the immediate past president and serve as the 2026 foundation president. The club president will be Jeff Otis. Thank you, Jeff. President-elect will be Wendy Paddock. Roger Cummings will continue as treasurer, and Kelly Oles is appointed as secretary ex officio. Chief organizer and person that gets me organized, sort of. Nobody gets me organized, but she does a great job. Yeah. Steve Farrow, Laura Holloway, Art Kordoff, Chuck Cotterman, and Greg Silver will continue as directors. So thanks everybody for your service to the club. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Mary Marsh. We have a special lunch with Howard Kellman and behind the scenes tour of Victory Field on Wednesday, July 30th. Did you know Howard just called his 7,000th Indians game on Friday night?
And he remembers everyone.
And he can still speak. Those are some well-exercised vocal cords. Wow. We have 25 people attending, but can add a few more this week. Please let Kelly know ASAP if you plan to attend. We have some upcoming Zooms. Author Ashley Petrie about her new book, Amazing Indianapolis, on August 7th. Gerald Harkness and his documentary When Everyone Swims on Thursday, August 14th. Thursday, 9/11 Remembrance. The Kurt Vonnegut Museum for Banned Books, the week of October 2nd. And Larry Dickerson and Jolene Katzenberger with Culinary Crossroads on October 9th. Other upcoming speakers include IUK Professor Paul Cook on artificial intelligence. That should be interesting. Chuck Lofton and IBJ's Nikki Shuey. So we've got some good things ahead. You can always catch up on the presentations on our YouTube channel and find links and recordings on the upcoming event section at indykiwanis.org. Steve Farrow, you want to come up and welcome our new club member?
Hello, everybody. I wanted to introduce one of our newest club members, Stacy Davis. Stacy is an attorney professionally and was interested in Kiwanis because she has been involved in organizations that support youth in the local community and is a past board member of Prairie Ridge Neighborhood Center and Reach for Youth, and you're currently on the board of Reach for Youth and past Teachers for Treasures. Yeah. And I'd like to present you with a certificate of membership and your Kiwanis pin. Do I put it on? Gold sticker.
Very much. I'm really excited to get started and assist with the mission. I love volunteer work, so I'm glad to be here and glad to be here.
Awesome.
Great.
Mary, do you want to say anything about upcoming social supper?
Hello, everyone. So we're going to Broad Ripple the 4th of August, which is the first Monday. We're going to go back to, I just lost it. You were there last year. The Spanish.
Spanish restaurant,
Right.
yeah.
Fernando's, Spanish Brazilian. Everyone loved it, so we're gonna go back there in August. And someone just said the slippery noodle, so maybe we'll put that in one of the coming months, because I think it's great. And there's a lot of history at the slippery noodle, so maybe we can get into that as well. So 5:30, August 4th, Fernando's in Broad Ripple, and I'll send out an email to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Otterman, you want to come tell us about the football?
So I know it's hard to think about football right now, because everybody's pumped up about basketball. And it's also hard to think about cold weather when it's 90 degrees out. But December 4th, we've got scheduled our football banquet with Marion County student athletes and an awards banquet. And as always, it's out of the Colts Complex on 56th Street. So mark your calendars. I know it's a long way away, but mark your calendars for Thursday, the 4th of December. So, great.
All right. Roger Cummings, you want to give us a golf update?
You play golf,
Let
right?
me get another bite of food.
Yeah.
Chuck, what I do on the golf course is not called golf. It's called hunting for the balls. Hey, yeah, hello, everyone. We've got a golf outing coming up, and Eric Steele's kind of leading this thing. Mike Halstead and I are helping, along with Kelly's efforts, obviously. It's September the 23rd. We've got plenty of room for golfers. We've got about 90 right now. So we're better than last year. I think we've got more than 18 hole sponsors, so it's gonna be a good year for us for fun and for the foundation. It goes to the foundation for Kiwanis. So there's still some sponsorships available if people are interested. We're also looking for any autographed memorabilia from any sports or anything like that we could give to golfers or either have for silent auction items. Also looking for swag. If any of your companies have a bunch of stuff we wanna get rid of, like sleeves of golf balls. We need 100 sleeves. So, help us out, come and join us. Should be a fun day. There's gonna be a lot of volunteers there, just kinda running around helping. So, you don't have to come and play golf. Do I go into my next one? It's at the Coffin Golf Course. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, keep going. I noticed in the newsletter when they talked about the golf outing, that showed my team as if I won, but I don't think I did.
You're our star.
Yeah.
You're just the
You're
mom.
just the face of it.
Yeah.
Do you have the best swing, maybe?
Yeah.
All right, so that's the golf outing. Next, we've got some folks here who've been very active with our builders clubs. We've got a couple of folks from Henry Longfellow Middle School and a couple of folks from Harshman Middle School who we've had a long-term relationship with through Partners in Education. So I'm gonna introduce both of them, give them both a chance to come up and just say a few words about what you're doing, what you're gonna do next year, how many members you got. So Aaron, why don't you come on up? And I can't remember your last name.
Brett.
Oh, that's it. You're right, it's Aaron Bradley.
Sorry. Well, hi, as Mr. Cummins said, I'm Aaron Bradley. I'm a representative from Harshman Middle School. And I wrote something down because when I get to these situations, my mind does anything but go. So, hopefully I cover a lot of the things we did and give you guys a spotlight of what we're doing at Harshman. So at Harshman this year, we focused on leadership traits and working on how to be a part of a team. Because a wise man once said, you need to know how to follow before you can lead. Using what we learned to draw out their personal strengths and skills, showing them anyone can be a leader in the right situation, and that we all have a leader within. We just need to have confidence in ourselves and what we can do. Building these young leaders and their confidence led to our impact in our school and our surrounding community. From volunteering to help at every event where we invited the community into our school, like Future Vikings Night. That is a night where we host our incoming fifth graders, make them feel comfortable about our school. Our Kiwanis Club was a big part of doing that this year, and we will be doing that in the future as well. We also welcome, past that, I just explained it. We also got our hands dirty this year with our Earth Day cleanup project, and we made a huge impact on our school. Our school looks great. The pots that we had out front are actually being used, beautiful red and purple plants. If you guys want to come by and see them, we actually have some around our flagpole. But the thing I'm most proud about is we actually got our community garden done. And so with that community garden, what we're going to working into what we're doing this year, we're going to have those kids tend to the garden until it gets to the time of winter. Winter, they're going to worry about covering it up, making sure we have all of our things in place for the next time we start gardening in the spring. So we wanted to get that gardening program off the ground, and I actually just pulled up a couple baby carrots yesterday, and I realized I did them a little too early. It's okay, I pushed it back down to the ground. But our hope for that is to actually use the vegetables that we are growing to give to our pantry, which my partner, Ms. Wilmari Ortiz, runs. So just ways that we can help out our own community and just give you guys a look at what we've been doing. Also, we were big and good at actually cleaning our courtyard. We have a recess area, which is kind of weird for middle school. I know we didn't all have recess in middle school, but when we do go out there, things get a lot dirty. There's milk cartons from lunch, pencils, papers, all of those things. So every single Friday during those lunch periods, we go out there and we clean the courtyard, so it's better for the next time that we come around next week. So we're just trying to do a lot to impact our community surrounding us and beautify our school. So thank you guys for your time.
I do need to mention Ms. Ortiz is a teacher at Harshman, and our other special guest here is EJ. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Who thinks the spaghetti's too hot, too spicy?
I'm the family navigator from the Bonner Center.
The garden.
She did? Good.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she helped,
She
yeah.
did come help us do our garden as well. He was there kicking dirt around if y'all want to know what he did. Nothing helped.
I like to do better.
And
And
then-
just for clarification purposes, I'm the family navigator at Harshman through the Bonner Center. Yeah.
Bonner Center, if you don't know, is very active in all the schools in Marion County, I guess, particularly inner city.
Yep, I'm saying the near east side more.
His payroll is Bonner,
Yes.
yours is Bonner, yours is
Yep.
Bonner. So without those guys, we really developed a nice relationship with these folks.
What else do you grow in your garden?
As of right now, we
We have some tomatoes,
Thank you.
there's like, I think there's some beets, if I'm not mistaken. Some type of green, the carrots, and then that's about it right now.
and then we had a lot of
It's-
flowers too.
yeah.
But you know that week we had that 100-degree heat wave, kind of knocked those petals down. But the
Yeah.
flowers are still standing. Those petals just didn't fare as well.
And it's a little bit of love, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the tomatoes to come up because they've been vining a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And both of these clubs really help the kids understand organizational setups in business. They've got president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. They have regular meetings. It's kind of a neat program, as you all know. Our other two guests are from Longfellow Middle School. And we have Miss Keisha Odom, who's principal, and Paige Christ, who is our coordinator for the Builders Club. So if you guys want to say a couple words about what you're doing?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. Cox. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Keisha Odom. I'm the principal at Longfellow Middle School. This is going into my third year as principal. Longfellow has become near and dear to my heart. And Builders Club, last year we went through a lot of transition. We added Builders Club as one of our offerings to our students. We added 6th grade last year, and we are transitioning to become an IB Rural School, which is a unique opportunity for the population of students that we serve. And so, along with that, Builders Club fit right into our vision and mission for the school, with our students wanting our students to become more globally minded and more aware of their local community and being able to serve even with what they have. How are we able to serve with the few things or a few resources that we have? So we appreciate Builders Club. Some of the projects that we did this year were, we did a school beautification. Roger has a flyer over there with some of the pictures, and I think it's at everybody's desk of some of the things that we did that brought not only our our school community together, but also parents and some of our other community partners to try to beautify the school. So programs like Builders Club not only give our students a chance to see what it's like to serve the community, but it's also beneficial for them to see, to do projects like school beautification, because we are limited in our resources. Being one of the smaller middle schools in Indianapolis Public Schools, we don't get a lot of funding to do things like that. So we rely on our community partners to help us with that. So I'm very grateful. Also, we started a food pantry. We have the highest rate of students that are considered homeless as far as middle schools at the school that I serve. And so we started a food pantry to kind of help with that. And the Builders Club always volunteers at the food pantry. And so it's been very beneficial for us. So thank you. Thank you for all of your support. We truly appreciate it. Paige, I'm sorry, let me introduce Paige, because I'm the principal, but she does all of the work. So I appreciate her. She's the sponsor for the Builders Club.
How important is that Builders Club to keeping the students from crime and keeping the students active so they are part of the school even after school? I know with after-school funds being cut, how important is it that what you're doing is keeping Indianapolis safer?
Well, from my perspective, keeping Indianapolis safer, it starts with one child at a time. And so the students that we reached, last year, we had 12 students to join the Builders Club, and this year we look to expand that number. Those students are being taught leadership skills, they're being taught the importance of community, they're being taught of the importance of serving the community and having a positive impact on the community. So every student that joins that Builders Club, that's one less student that we have to worry about. They have something to do after school. They have projects and things to keep their mind off of what's going on at home. And sometimes some of the experiences that they have, they wouldn't otherwise have if it wasn't for that experience that they have in school. So we try to, not only through the Builders Club, but through everything we do, to create a space at our school where students can feel safe and can experience what it's like to be productive citizens, not only in the school, but outside of school as well.
Thank you.
So it's very important.
I think you're doing great work, and it
Thank
seems
you.
like maybe it would be a model for other schools in IPS or
Oh, yes.
whatever, to as a model for how to keep kids involved in their community in a positive way. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
To close, I just wanted to say that Paige was at Harshman for several years, running the Builders Club. And when they opened Longfellow, they shifted her up there, and Aaron went to Harshman. So I don't want to embarrass her, but Miss Paige just got engaged.
All right.
Married next July 4th, you'll see the fireworks.
All right, well, thanks very much, guys, and it's a terrific reminder of why Kiwanis exists and what we want to see happen. So we really, really, really appreciate all the effort that all of you do in the Builders Clubs, as well as contributions that everybody makes to Kiwanis. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Rick Snyder. Rick Snyder serves as the chaplain for the National Fraternal Order of Police. He is also the president of the Indianapolis Fraternal Order of Police, serving over 3,000 active and retired members from 10 different law enforcement agencies in central Indiana. So, Rick, thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I was asked to come and share with you a little bit about some things that have been going on. I think we all know that we've been facing a lot of tragic circumstances throughout our city. And our city, unfortunately, for the last several years, has been gripped by crime and violence, the likes of which we've never seen. So I want to talk with you a little bit about that, but also maybe answer some questions that you might have. As was shared, I serve as the president of our Indianapolis FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police. Sometimes people say, well, what is that really? Well, we're the representative organization for our local police officers here in Indianapolis and throughout Marion County. So we represent about 3,000 officers and multiple different agencies, but by far our largest group of members are our Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department officers. And they've been going through it as of late. As you should know, as a citizen of this community, a visitor, an employee here, we have now sustained 5 back-to-back years of record levels of violence, record levels of homicides. The last 5 years, we've had over 200 homicides a year, which we have never reached those levels in over 200 years of our history. But we have in just the last 5 years. And a lot of people ask why, how does that come about? I think obviously there's a lot of contributors that are leading to that, not just in Indianapolis, but violence that we're seeing throughout our nation. But specifically here to Indianapolis, one of the key things that we can backtrack this to are a lot of changes that were made within our criminal justice system that took effect in 2020. Judge, I have to say, we sure miss you on the bench. It's really gone downhill since you left, from being there day to day, and a lot of the peers that you had during that time. I can't quite explain why we made some of the decisions. I think they were made with good intentions in mind, but what we really have done is created a revolving door of criminal justice in our community. And what we're finding is that specifically as it relates to repeat violent offenders, the great frustration of our officers is they are often being cycled right back into the neighborhoods as soon as we can make an arrest. and that is by design. It's been extremely frustrating for us. I think most people would understand that we're not talking about low-level first-time offenders and trying to get them back on track in a restorative kind of approach. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hardened, violent offenders who have a documented, repeated history of such crimes, who, when they get arrested for a new alleged crime of violence, oftentimes in Indianapolis, Marion County, they're not even appearing before a judge before that bond is set, and they're cycled right back out into the neighborhood. With some of these reforms that were put in place, we also saw that criminal bond amounts were drastically lowered for many crimes that involve violence, and also domestic violence, including crimes like stalking even, that have really created issues for our officers and for our victims. So with that, we've seen these high levels of violence that have surged since that took effect fully, and we've been very outspoken about that. We've done all of our due diligence to reach out to our partners, but one of the things that we see is a very intentional and deliberate steps, especially taken by our Marion County prosecutor, of being soft on crime, especially even repeat levels of crimes, combined with that revolving door that really leaves our police officers as being the ones who are handcuffed in the city. For all the work that they do and all that they put to risk for all of us, it starts to become meaningless as they watch the fruit of that labor and that risk really just be kind of tossed to the side. And so with that, at the same time, we've also seen some of the same approaches being taken specifically within our juvenile justice system, in which we're watching levels of violence escalate and surge amongst juvenile offenders. And then, of course, that has all come to a head here as of late. The most visible representation we saw was right off the circle here on the 4th of July, in which we had a mass shooting in downtown Indianapolis. I'll remind you, another mass shooting in downtown Indianapolis, in which we had 7 people that were shot, 2 of which lost their lives, and those 2 that died were juveniles, 15 and 16 years old. And we started warning of this, being very outspoken about it, all the way back in 2019, the fall of 2019. Why back then? Because myself and others, trusted voices in our community, like Reverend Charles Harrison from the 10 Point Coalition, who's in the streets every day, we could see what was coming over the horizon. We started warning about the concerns that we had. We actually stood on another corner in downtown Indianapolis following another mass shooting in 2019, in which 6 people were shot, 3 of which were juveniles. And we said, we've got to get all hands on deck and course correct here before we go off a cliff. We were laughed at, we were scoffed at, people turned away. Our prosecutor, unfortunately many of our judges, pointed fingers at one another and then pointed at us and said that we were exaggerating this issue and that there were things that we needed to be doing that were along these lines. Tragically, we've now had well over 1,000 more people die as victims of homicide since that occurred. So that's the bad news. That's where we're at. The good news is this, is that we can still do something about it. We have continued to stand the line and fight the fight on these issues, continue to educate the public and make them aware of what is actually going on. But every step of the way, it is a fight. And it's a fight from folks that are being very protective of what has occurred, what has been done. That includes, unfortunately, political leaders, decisions made by our Indianapolis City County Council. I was just there last night reminding them of that. I think sometimes people think I enjoy doing that. I do not. I would much rather be talking about very proactive, positive outcomes and solutions that we could be doing, except we're bogged down in the mire of all this right now. But what I am here to tell you is that there's too much at risk if we stay silent. Unfortunately, in my line of work, I've buried many of my friends. You know, people say, well, what do cops know about the violence that's going on in our streets? Well, many of them are dying as a result of it as well. And so we're pretty passionate about it. I always say Indy is worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. That's why we all stepped forward, raised our right hand, and said we'll risk our lives, lay down our lives if need be for people that we don't even know, because it's worth it. We can't allow that to continue to be shortchanged in our capital city. Final thing I would say is this, sometimes people that aren't from Indianapolis say, well, why do I care what's going on there? This is what I remind them. As your capital city goes, so goes the rest of your state. And I think we're now coming to grips with that. If you didn't see just yesterday, the newly elected governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, took a pretty bold step, called a press conference and talked about these very issues in Indianapolis and said that if the mayor and the prosecutor, he talked a lot about our prosecutor, his words, not mine, if they don't get their act together, he is going to start taking steps at looking at taking over some of these issues in our downtown area. I don't necessarily think that's the best route to go. We should be able to handle it. I tell people this all the time, the police are not your problem. They're actually your solution, and they're doing a very good job, yet they're being cut off at the knees by the very system that they're trying to serve. And so that's where we got to make some changes. So with that, I want to open it up for questions, because I think that'll facilitate a lot more discussion and make good use of all of our time, and we'll go from there. Yes, ma'am.
So are these bond issues, releasing on a lower bond and not prosecuting and so forth, are these policies of the offices or are they laws?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that, because that's a key distinction. So what happens is every county is allowed by law for their local judges to set what they'll call a bond matrix and what those bond limitations are for the various levels of crimes. They have guardrails that are in place for that, but then they can operate within those. And what has happened is in Marion County, for lower level felonies especially, significant reductions were made to where many of our lower level felonies receive no more than a $500 cash bond and the person is right back out. With that, people say, well, those are for lower level felonies. That's where we can intervene. I would much rather arrest somebody, have them held longer to de-escalate the situation and provide for an opportunity of intervention in that moment, right? And have a higher bond and greater court influence and involvement right from the beginning to prevent the heinous act of crime or violence from occurring down the road. That's what we're talking about. That's why we always hear us say intervention is prevention. We're firm supporters in strong levels of education with our community, prevention efforts, community collaboration. But when intervention is needed, it must occur, it must be swift, and it must be firm. That's what's happening with our juveniles. I say this to people all the time. They truly believe what's going on here is a joke. You can go right now to any juvenile in the city, whether they're a good kid, a bad kid that's out there doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, or a true violent offender. All of them will tell you they know our criminal justice system and what the expectations are, they believe are a joke. And what the problem is with that is you take very good kids, and they are the ones who suffer because they watch no accountability for the ones that are doing harm. And then oftentimes they are also the ones that get caught up as victims. And the final thing I'll say is this, I say this all the time to folks, if you tell me you truly care about people, even adult criminal offenders, which I do too, that's why I do what I do. If we truly care about those folks, we should be intervening on their behalf and hopefully protecting them from becoming the victim. I say this a lot. Today they're the suspect, but tomorrow they're often the victim. And the great frustration of our officers is they'll get a call, they'll have a person shot that's dead, laying in the middle of the street that they're having to stand over, and they say, I've arrested him 20 times. Why is he, this is preventable. And that's their great frustration. So it's a very real deal. The one thing I keep saying is, challenge us on it. I dare you. You can't get around the outcomes. And tragically, the outcomes are a lot of lives lost that never should have been. Yes, sir.
What I heard on the news was the governor said, if you don't get it together, we're gonna get involved. And I heard the mayor say, we don't need any help.
Yeah.
Okay, which is awful. But what can the governor do? I mean, in Marion County, in other words,
Yeah.
what rights do they have?
Yeah, so the plan is, as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna walk right out these doors downstairs and stand before the media and talk a little bit about that, because that's the question. There are a host of things that the governor can do. There's a lot of emergency powers that the governor also has, by the way. But one of the things that they're doing right now is they're supplementing our officers in the downtown area with a significant number of state troopers. That's fine in the short term, but the danger in that is you're pulling troopers away from all other parts of the state to help make safety happen. And this is the frustration of the governor and what he's saying. It's not that your police department is not capable. You have what you need, and you have folks who can make it work. It's the fact that we're not getting the backing from our political structure and our court system. And what he kept tying it back to is the lack of prosecution. What he talked about is a non-compliant prosecutor. And, it's just an unfortunate fact. And he actually had as part of his platform the move for a law that would allow for immediate steps to be taken when that can be demonstrated. He had some pushback in this last session. What he said is I think he's going to be even more committed to getting that done in the next session. But the question becomes, what happens between now and then? And so what I keep saying is, some suggest, well, maybe we should just make a special policing district in downtown Indianapolis and then allow the state to manage that policing. We got it. Policing's not your problem. It doesn't matter what police you put in there. If you put 500 state troopers in there, they're going to run into the exact same problem that we have, which is all things lead back to the prosecutor, and that's where the wall is. So until something changes there, not a lot's going to change. A reminder in the state of Indiana, we have no recall option for any elected official. None. That's very unique. Most other states at least have that as an option and a check and balance. We do not. So what we have said, I put a letter out to the city of Indianapolis in the Indianapolis Business Journal. I think it's in this latest issue. And one of the things that I said in there is you've got to demand that a recall option be made available by law. If for no one else, sorry, Judge, prosecutors and judges until we get a handle on this. What I find is when I talk to the judges, they point at the prosecutor. When you talk to the prosecutor, he points at the judges. And what we have said is let's get everybody around the table. I don't want to keep pointing at people. I want to point to solutions. Get everybody around the table, find out where these gaps are, and let's fix it. Because when we do that, we're going to save lives. For whatever reason, I can just tell you, for 5 years now, those folks refuse to do that. And the question becomes why. And I think that's where, at some point, the state has to say enough is enough. If you can't take care of it yourself at the local level, we have a duty to intervene.
Have you thought about, you're doing the great best you can here. Have you thought about forming some kind of a committee of juveniles that would advise you on some of the ways to get to these gangs and get to more people going into this peace?
Here's one of the things that's interesting.
Do you need help from them?
Well, when we do that, we've done a lot of that and a lot of work on that front. When we talk to juveniles, when we talk to parents, when we talk to folks who are living in the neighborhoods and day to day are too afraid to come out on their front porch, here's the consistent thing we hear. Lock the bad people up, hold them accountable, and give us an opportunity to live in peace. It's a pretty simple formula. At the council meeting last night, they spent hours talking about wraparound services, more money that we need to apply. Folks, we have already done that. They have already spent millions upon millions of dollars over the last several years. They just added 2 million more taxpayer dollars to this.
What are wraparound services?
You tell me. What I find is it's a bunch of ways and organizations to say, we're going to do things without a lot of outcomes. Here's the problem. There are tons of great, I don't even like to say programs, just great opportunities and ways to help support our families, support our children. You got some sitting right in here, right? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is money that we're really just blowing away in the wind with no true outcomes coming back at that. And we're also doing things that we're calling reforms. Like one of the things that just happened was we just built a brand new youth services center. It's what they're calling the Juvenile Detention Center now. When we did that, the residents of Indianapolis paid $40 million to build this. And when we did it as an attempt to showed that we were doing something different. We cut the bed space by 55% for that new facility. At the same time, juvenile violence was exploding in our city. So now what we're left with is, even when we make the arrest of a violent juvenile offender, there's no room at the end. There's no place to put them. And that happened by design. We designed it that way. And then what we find is we have many juveniles that are involved with crimes involving firearms, violence like armed robbery, carjacking, pointing firearms, shooting firearms, that are literally being put right back into a dysfunctional home, into our neighborhoods, with no resources, with no wraparound services, no support, and then lo and behold, we wonder how they become the suspect of the next crime or the victim. What we're saying is there is a way to interrupt this cycle and save lives. And I think people are coming to the realization that thus far, the people that we have in these positions haven't been living up to that obligation.
Part of the problem's gotta be mental illness as well, drug addiction. I mean, I understand where you're at. The problems may have underlying causes from not instructing what bullying is, just like what I just read, insulting other people, not being respectful of other people. I mean, there ought to be a way, I know you're trying it, to try to get the schools to do part of this program, part of the churches, et cetera, synagogues, what to do to get people concerned about others. I know that sounds so ideal.
Unfortunately, a lot of it gets dumped into the lap of our schools, right? Where we start to expect our schools to become the parents or the family structure.
It may have to happen. I mean, obviously, this is the gangs. Let's get back to that 1 second. Do you have a gang task force? Is there a task force going after these people?
Yes, sir. We have what's called a violent crimes task force, yes.
So does it need to be expanded with this money here? Is that where
We would welcome that. Here's what you're going to find. That's great. What happens after that? This is what I keep saying to folks. This isn't a policing, arresting problem. It's the backside of that. And you hear what I'm saying? And the lack of accountability. It really, and I'm not being facetious. What you're bringing up are all reasonable things, but it highlights the issue is that we keep chasing our tail and doing everything we can to get around the one issue that is needed, which is an accountability. Yes, sir.
Because of the pandemic, a lot of these office buildings that we're seeing around here have much less occupancy than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Has that changed the demographic of the downtown and to what? And then, of course, on top of that, if people don't think it's safe to come downtown,
that's playing a huge
things
role.
like the Columbia Club here. When they have dinner on a Friday night, they get 2 or 3 tables worth of people.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Indianapolis Symphony, they get a third of the people they used to get.
Yeah, the great frustration is for us, what hurts us as officers and what we're out here doing is we hear consistently, I used to go downtown. I used to go into the city. I used to go to Indianapolis. And now I don't. And what we're seeing is we're seeing fundamental economic shifts for our city and our tax base going to other areas. And you look at things like a growing convention and tourism center and business in Hamilton County. Look at all the growth that they're making up there. Well, they're filling a gap. They're filling a void of those medium-sized conferences that no longer want to come to Indianapolis because of fear of safety that are going to an area such as that. So that's why we've got to get engaged and pull this back together, because you've got to be able to, that's our lifeblood. That's what we've always said. Our downtown is the economic hub of our capital city and then of our state. And it's really becoming pretty detrimental. So, obviously we have the fear of any large event like we have going on this weekend, or July 4th celebration, or whatever the case may be. But we can't just suddenly clean up our streets. If you'll notice, clean up our streets, get everything situated when we have a large national, international spotlight come into our city, and then let it all go back to square one where we were for the people that live and reside here and work here. Consistency is going to be the key, and unfortunately it's been replaced by complacency thus far. Yes, sir.
Does Ryan Mears sit down with your group and have open conversations? Because I'm just questioning I'm just curious how he justifies what he's doing when he sees what has happened on the 4th of July and sees this.
Yeah.
How does he justify what he's doing, making these decisions, or lack thereof?
Well, it's very difficult for me to try to explain what his rationale is. I can just tell you that it's very apparent that he has kind of come up in the group of prosecutors and DAs like we've seen in other major cities in our country that have really gone back to a soft on crime approach, an approach that quite frankly, you know, you see sweetheart plea deals, the likes of which I've never seen in my career, where you've got heinous crimes that are literally getting a guilty plea, which gives them a stat and a check mark, but at the same time, there's literally no jail time, prison time involved for it. The overuse of electronic monitoring in our city. Remember, Indianapolis has more people on electronic monitoring, GPS ankle bracelets, than any other city in the nation. That's not by percentage, that's by actual numbers. I'll give you an example. One time we had 4,000 people in Indianapolis on electronic monitoring. We wanted to do our research, right, Judge? We wanted to do our research, so we called Los Angeles County. We thought that'd be a good one to see. How many people do you have on electronic monitoring? They had about 400. They said, how many do you have? We said 4,000. They said, you're going to get somebody killed. And we said, that's the problem we have. And we've had multiple incidents of violence and death and homicides related to folks who were on a GPS monitor, had to cut it off, or some type of electronic monitoring when that occurred. All those deaths, when you see that, that tells you that's preventable, man. And, you know, the sanctity of life, unfortunately, is not at the level that it needs to be in our capital city. And I'm telling you, it can be different, has to be different. So, you know, I don't know. I can't speak for him. What I would say is that's where it's incumbent upon the residents, the citizens of the Indianapolis to say that it's not acceptable and do something about that.
I think you hit it on the head with Rob's comment, that this is an economic issue.
It absolutely is.
This is a major economic issue in addition to the crime.
Yeah.
Because the city cannot be viable with the situation.
Yes, sir.
Right. And that's why the big corporations, yeah, they're out there making this, they can help.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
So my wife was a retired school teacher, and during COVID, parents found out how hard it is to be a teacher. And I think it's very difficult to put this all on schools. What I have found is if you look at the suburban neighborhoods, the benefit as far as child's achievement and lack of crime is parents' involvement and parents' involvement in the schools. So what type of initiative has been put in place to, you may have some single parent families, what initiatives are you recommending that we look at to get more parents involved in education and also rearing their children?
Well, one, definitely focus on education. Focus on your schools. Focus on the funding of your schools, but even more importantly, it's not always just about throwing money at it. It's also about making sure that your teachers, your administrators have that support from the community as a whole when we're, quite frankly, often asking them to step in and help be the parents for the students that they have. In addition to that, there are wonderful opportunities out there. We just last week brought attention throughout the city to one called Young Men, Inc. That's been around for 31 years now. That is has a proven track record. And yet every year they're scrambling and scratching just to make it through the summer of raising up the youth in our community. And they've got outcomes that are demonstrable, that you can see the success in that.
100 black men.
I'm sorry?
100 black men.
There's another one. So that's just the thing. There are examples that are working out there. The unfortunate thing is none of those things ultimately matter as it relates to these outcomes if we don't close that revolving door on the backside. That's it. And you know, I always say, people say, well, all you're talking about is locking people up. what we're talking about is you gotta do both at the same time. You gotta have strong accountability, especially for crimes of violence. And by doing that and providing that disruption in the cycle, you then provide breathing room for these other opportunities to flourish. For your schools to flourish, because they're not bogged down with fear of not just crime, but just safety concerns.
It seems to
It
me that
matters.
we have a lot of mentorship opportunities.
We do.
And, I just think they need to be coordinated.
And I know you're all pressed for time here,
Yeah.
and we got the people up front, but I just want to say this. I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to have the discussion. Obviously, it doesn't end here. I challenge you as an organization that in your future meetings, the question needs to be, what role do we play in this? What part of this do we own? And that's where we're going to see things start to turn. I literally just watched a group of churches who were holding a press conference right before I came in here that were saying, we got to come out of our four walls. We've got to engage in this. This is an area of something that we can do. Well, if we all start doing that, this will start to change. But you have to demand better of your elected officials and make sure that those expectations are there. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Kiwanis Foundation of Indianapolis will be making a donation in your honor to Hear Indiana. They deliver hope and resources to Hoosier children with hearing loss.
Thank you for that.
So, and boy, if ever we needed some levity to end the meeting. So the wisdom from the One America signboard for today, if you plant a light bulb, does it grow into a power plant? Or maybe now if you plant an LED light bulb, does it grow into a wind farm?